Greetings, degenerates. St. Michael here, and today I'm going to be talking about a former actress best known for a role she had about 20 years ago, nothing of real note since, that decided to go on a podcast and try and mend the bridges she helped burn with the woman who instigated her very career. That's right. Emma Watson, who recently went on the On Purpose podcast, decided to, in vague terms, say, let's agree to disagree, because when in Hollywood do they ever care about it agreeing to disagree? When they disagree, they burn the town. But JK clapped back and said, basically, go fuck yourself. You helped instigate and dogpiled on me when I created the world that you were picked to be a pretender in. You aren't actually Hermione. None of you are anything more than people playing characters in her world. J.K. Rowling slams arrogant Emma Watson as their rift intensifies. Author claims Watson once wrote her a note expressing sympathy over anti-trans backlash. J.K. Rowling has taken aim once again at Harry Potter actor Emma Watson amid their ongoing rift making headlines this month. The author wrote in a new post on X that Watson has little experience in real life. She's ignorant of how ignorant she is, and that's typical for these Hollywood types. They live in a echo chamber bubble where they are surrounded by throngs of raving yes men who are at their beck and call to make them happy. Claiming that once she got a letter from Watson that allegedly showed sympathy towards the public backlash Rowling was enduring for sharing views on the trans community that Watson and had already publicly disagreed with. By sharing views, she just said things like men don't belong in women's spaces, such as bathrooms and locker rooms. Anyone with more than one functioning brain cell would call that scientifically accurate. It's very interesting to see that the so-called staunch feminist, which J.K. Rowling is herself, which is why I really have very little sympathy for her and people like Bill Maher, because these are the people that for years fed this idea. They fed this dog and it bit them, and they are like, oh, whoa, wait, but I'm one of you. No, you're only one of you when you're lockstep 100%. It is a cult. It is absolutely a hive mind cult. And Rowling just is the current sacrificial lamb for it. The rift between Rowling and Watson started back in 2020 after the Harry Potter author began sharing views on the transgender community that many found to be transphobic, again, as anyone would really call them, scientifically accurate and common sense. Watson joined Harry Potter co-stars like Daniel Radcliffe by publicly opposing Rowling, sharing in a statement at the time, trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. Well, I can say I'm anything I want to say, but that doesn't make it true. That the thing is, people who tend to say they are a thing over and over, they aren't that thing. Someone who is genuinely smart, someone who is genuinely kind, don't have to constantly tell you how great and kind and smart they are. They will let their actions speak for them. Now, let's go to the interview in question.
It's something I wanted to ask you about that's difficult and challenging, because it's something you spoke about earlier as to being such a big part of your life, an important part of your life. But recently, there's been so many conversations and comments directly from J.K. Rowling, whether it's her saying she'd never forgive you for your views, or the fact
It wasn't really the views, it was the incessant dogpiling on a woman who was saying rational things that 10, 15 years ago would be a duh.
Or the fact that when she was asked what ruins the movies for her, she named yourself and some of your co-stars. And I imagine that's an extremely difficult thing.
It is very difficult sometimes, I will admit, to separate the art from the artist. Um, Mark Hamill is a great example. He's a horrible, horrible human being. Um, he once tried to get his own grandchild essentially murdered by having his son, who knocked up a hooker or someone, and basically tried to, or maybe successfully tried to, induce him to, go along with an abortion. So yes, he wanted to murder his own grandchild. So he's an absolute scumbag of a human being, but he's also a big part of mine and many people's lives, not only as Luke Skywalker, but as the voice of the Joker, and even in skips on regular show.
You've been a part of someone's world when you felt connected to their work.
Yes, their work. This is J.K. Rowling's work, and we'll see her post in a bit.
And then for it now to kind of be a full 180, and for someone to publicly say these things that can be quite, or extremely hurtful, actually. How do you think about that?
Extremely hurtful. You mean like the very thing that, started this? Daniel and a few others just constantly saying, "Oh, well, she's evil now. She's transphobic. Let's boycott her stuff. Let's get tattoos that we've had of her removed. Let's try and boycott the Hogwarts Legacy game," which that worked out swimmingly.
I really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding.
Oh my god, I am so sick of these fucking. Look, I do it, but these guys are professional actors. Like, spit it out.
The love and support and views that I have mean that I can't and don't treasure Joe and the person that I had personal experiences with. I will never believe that one negates the other, and that my experience of that person I don't get to keep and cherish. To come back to our earlier thing, like, I just don't think these things are either or. I think.
Hey, is that a hybrid?
Oh, yes, you've got one too, I see.
Yeah, I like to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. Well, anyway, good for you!
Thanks!
It's my deepest wish that I hope people who don't agree with my opinion will love me, and I hope I can keep loving people who I don't necessarily share the same opinion with. And I think that's a very, very important way for me.
And there it is. That is her roundabout way to say, hey, can't we all just get along? Let's agree to disagree. Well, I'm sorry, Emma, but you live in a world, again, echo chamber, Hollywood, nothing but adult pretenders everywhere, constant throngs of yes men. There is no agree to disagree. Your side is agree with me 100% on everything, or you're a bigot, you're sexist, you're homophobic, transphobic. And it changes from fucking year to year. What J.K. Rowling said, again, a decade ago, would not be anything more than a duh moment. But now we have this idea that men can be women and women can be men. And unfortunately, this is where I have little respect for J.K. Rowling. Feminists started this by saying that, well, men and women are not unique. They're not different. They can be flip-flopped and switched around. There's no intrinsic value. And that is the door that led to this trans shit. I don't care what you have to say. That is how it is. This is the slippery slope. This idea that men and women are not purpose-driven, God-created beings with unique traits that, yes, can have overlap. A woman can be a good mechanic, and a man can be a really great dressmaker. That's irrelevant. That's personal choice, and thank God in America you can have said choice. And again, the choice to be a fucking dick chopping tranny. Go ahead. I don't care. I think it's wrong. I think it's disgusting. I think the doctors are doing exactly the opposite of their Hippocratic oath of do no harm. But you live in America, have fun. So this idea of let's all get along, it's very tough when your side says every gender is valid and gender is a construct and sex this. It's just, there is no agree to disagree. And she said it this way to get the people that are on her side not to try and cancel her, because again, this beast that you feed, this dog that you feed, this woke, progressive, feminist, just ultimately Marxist ideology will essentially eat you when you dare say things that even slightly veer off the path. As far as J.K. Rowling's tweet, I am seeing quite a bit of comment about this, so I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for opinions I should hold these days. And that's entirely true. Emma Watson is not owed any sort of loyalty. Daniel Radcliffe is not owed any sort of cult-like devotion to J.K. Rowling. It would be nice to show respect for the woman who basically made you famous for the world she made. But, and as J.K. Rowling says here, Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender ideology. Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see them threatened with any loss of work or violence or death. And by all means, agree. I do not wish harm on people I disagree with. But this is the clear distinction between the current right and left, is that the left wants violence for people that disagree with them. The right doesn't. And that is evidently shown in the recent events. However, J.K. Rowling said, Emma and Dan in particular have both made it clear over the last few years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay obligation, to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finished acting in Potter, they continue to assume the role of de facto spokespeople for the world I created. Yes, she is the George R.R. Martin of this universe. She is the Tolkien of this universe. She is the George Lucas of this universe. This is her world. Do I agree with her ipso facto making Dumbledore gay when it really wasn't clear? No, but it's her world, and unfortunately, she has every right to do that. I do think that can go too far with creators of a franchise. They can think that no matter what, they have every right to make things and change things, even if it's goes against things they've later written or earlier have written in their work. But it's still their stuff. And JK has every right to make the world she wants. I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated means to women and girls without her privilege. Again, this is where I think there's a bit of irony in J.K. Rowling in pushing the ideas that she pushed for years. Again, it is a slippery slope, and it's come back to bite her in the ass. That being said, I still agree with her because she said very sane things that wouldn't have batted an eye years prior. The greatest irony is that had Emma not decided in her most recent interview to declare that she loves and treasures me, a change of tack I suspect she's adopted because she's noticed full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was. I might never have been this honest. And see, that's the thing. The only reason people like reviewers and so-called journalists are coming out of the woodwork and saying that a certain movie or a certain game or a certain whatever has been ruined or has been, losing money is because it's now safe. It's now more than obvious to say that Disney Star Wars is a failure or, you know, this woke shit isn't selling because it's safe. These people are spineless, cowardly jellyfish who have no fucking thought of their own beyond the NPC download they keep getting as a result of constantly being on Twitter. And they think Twitter's real life. And these people who have been saturated with just constant admiration and accolades, they think that their word is somehow gospel. They think their word is somehow intellectual. Well, it's not. And these nobodies, or former nobodies, are realizing that maybe biting the hand that fed you for your entire early life wasn't a good idea. Anyways, that's all I've got to say. Cheers. God bless.
I'm here for all of the witches.
We've got a few other things to talk about first. Shut it, you stupid woman!